Okay. So somebody please move that the Community Center Select Steering Committee approve the agenda for the May 31, 2023 meeting.
So moved.
Second, thank you, Jillian. Liam, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Adoption of the minutes of our April 12th meeting. They're in the agenda package. Has anybody got any suggested changes? Otherwise, can I have a motion to adopt the minutes of the Community Center Select Steering Committee held April 12th, 2023 be adopted?
If I can make a comment?
Is this to amend the minutes or?
I believe so.
Okay, I
With
thought I'd ask.
respect to the business arising from the minutes and the conversation that we had about the terms of reference, there was 3 bullet points underneath the Jillian's description of the terms of reference, and recommended that the BIM committee terms of reference template be followed, and bullets 2 to 5 were aligned with such so that they be removed. I would take issue with possibly be included as an appendix. My understanding was that they would be referred to. The role of the Recreation and Community Service Commission was discussed, and then it was clarified that one of the challenges would be to create policy to provide clarity for the facility manager. What's not mentioned there is the discussion that we had about working groups. And I noticed that that has been deleted from the terms of reference, and I didn't think that we came to that conclusion.
Okay, so your first one would be easy to deal with by removing the word possibly. Is everybody okay with that, with the first bullet?
Yep.
Okay, and with the second one, rather than a lot of detail, is it okay to just, Judy, are you okay with just leaving it as that was discussed for the second bullet? Because we did talk about it.
Yes.
Okay, and then from my perspective, we did talk about working groups, so we could add another bullet to say the role of working groups was discussed. Is
Yes.
that okay? So does that solve your concerns?
Yes.
Okay.
There wasn't a decision to delete it.
Okay. Well, we'll get into that when we talk about subcommittees, because to me, subcommittees and working group are synonymous.
Okay.
Okay.
As amended with remove possibly, leave the second bullet alone.
Can't hear.
Yeah, Steph, we're going to delete the word possibly in the first bullet,
Okay.
leave the second one alone, leave the third one alone, and add a bullet, the role of working groups was discussed.
Got it.
Okay, so Judy, would you move that minutes be adopted as amended then?
Yes.
Thank you. Second? Liam, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right, now we're on to the fun stuff. Construction. Oh, public comments. Have we got any public stuff?
No.
Okay, thank you. Liam, you're up.
Okay.
Updates.
Thank you, Councillor Morris. So I don't have tremendous new news. It's plugging along. The project continues to focus on starting to focus a bit more on the interior side of things. We're very close to finishing the interior framing of the facility. And the membrane for the building itself is going on. If you pass the building, you'll see that it's starting to get blue walls as that membrane goes on. The roof membranes are all on. You can't see the top of the 2 square structures, the multi-purpose room and the rec rooms, but the membranes are on those roofs as well. There is one roof section that is not complete, and that's the area that adjoins the municipal hall portion to the community lounge area. And there's we're actually waiting on a special piece of metal that has to be fabricated for that portion of roofing before that can be completed and then sealed up. So it's getting closer to having all of the roofing and membranes sealed on. One of the next stages of construction will be to install windows and doors in an isolated area to then do testing of that installation to ensure maximum effectiveness of installation for energy efficiency. And once that installation process is given the thumbs up, then the remaining windows and doors can start to be installed. And so that'll be exciting to really get things closed up from all the elements. Luckily, the elements have been in our favor, and we've been able to, the project's been able to progress quite nicely. There's still some outdoor exterior work that needs to be done as well in terms of some trenching for hydro and some drainage. And so you will still see some of that earthwork being done. The north parking lot area is also an outstanding exterior piece of work that will need to be completed. And we've had a good meeting on site. I think it was the week before last, where we agreed that we will wait to try to get additional fill material to bring the elevation up of that parking lot. But we're seeking free fill. So if you know anybody on island that has suitable free fill, we're looking for that. Otherwise, we can make a change as we get closer to completion if we don't have adequate fill to resolve that problem. But essentially, things are moving along fairly well, and we're also really focused right now on much more of the detailed finishing work and in terms of making decisions around what the interior elements will be like, and so that when we get to those installation pieces, that will flow nicely. So I'm not sure if Jillian or Prashant have anything that they wanted to add, or if anybody had any questions.
No, I think you covered it all, Liam. Thank you.
Yeah, that's great. I was going to ask the committee if next meeting, if you'd like to see a bit of a presentation about some of those interior finishes and the color palette on that. I can pull some of that together if that's of interest to the group to see. Just helps it all sort of come alive more and become even more exciting. So.
Well, is there interest or not?
Sure. Yeah.
Well, it just depends on your time frame. I mean, if you've got to go to a lot of extra work, then, but something for the general public might be of interest to the general public. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would be helpful in terms of sharing that with the community.
Okay, I'll do that, and I apologize. I don't have images to share today. I wasn't able to do that, but I'll do that for next meeting. Some more images and interior as well. So.
Okay, is that it, Liam?
That's it. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, Jacqueline and Shelley, you're up next. Fundraising update.
Thank you. I think I'll begin. So yeah, we can start with some good news. We are pleased to report that donations to the project received this month totaled $66,330. So of course, we'd like to thank our public for this generous support. We also need to thank the Bowen Island Community Foundation for awarding us $9,500 to assist with the purchase of furniture for the community living room. As you all know, the Community Foundation has been a solid champion of this project from its inception and has also committed $25,000 towards the cost of millwork in the smaller multipurpose room. As I believe you are all aware, on April 17th, we received extremely disappointing news that our application to Cultural Spaces program was not going forward. Liam, Jillian, and I met with the program manager, and we were told that due to the pandemic, an unprecedented funding situation faced the program, and as a result, fewer new projects were being funded, as the government prioritized projects that had already been approved and were in progress and were facing cost overruns. So we were told that despite that our project met the criteria of the program, and I'm just going to quote here, the program faced an unprecedented situation that depleted our budget. Funding was just not available. So while we could reapply in the future, at this time, considering the funding challenges facing the program, there are no plans to prepare another application. We are exploring alternative ways to raise funding that we hoped the program would bring to the project. In terms of fundraising, communications, the team, which includes, of course, Janet, Jillian, Jamie, Shelley, and myself, have been moving forward on a number of fronts. We've launched a bit of a new campaign depicting community members in various spaces in the new building, with the goal of capturing the excitement of many who look forward to participating, leading, and attending the activities and events in the new community center. Inspiring individuals to envision how they may use the space, spreading that positive energy and infusing awareness of, interest in, and support for the project. And in case you haven't seen it yet, we'd just like to show you a clip that was produced by Janet and shared widely on social and other media. It features local musician John Siddall, who's also a member of the Hearth Board. So fingers crossed, technology will work with us on this. And if anybody has their mic on, if I could ask them to mute, it might work better in that case. So I'll just see how this goes. Hopefully this will work. Oh, you know what? 1 second, I have to do one more thing here. Apologies. All right, now it should be better. And here we go.
Walk right in, go right in, gonna have big times, and you can gin, walk the door, walk right in, gonna have big times, that's how it all begins, yeah, walk right in. Woo. Walk right in.
Here again.
Thanks, Jackie. That was awesome.
Great, thanks, Janet. Yeah.
Very fun. So yeah, we are capturing these images through a series of tours being conducted for stakeholders of the project. We can report that across the board, people have been excited to see the building take shape, and they're very impressed with the spaces and layout. We met yesterday with a group representing theater arts community, and they were very enthusiastic, but also very much interested in taking a role to help inform how those spaces will function once the facility opens. So we've already heard back from them thanking us for the tour and indicating their further interest in helping out. Another communications initiative, which is being created and managed by Janet again, are a series of large billboards to be mounted on the fencing alongside the construction site, along with a new fundraising thermometer. This is part of the GET series you might have seen around, and this includes Get Energized, Get Mesmerized, Get Together. And these have been posted and shared widely on the Community Center Facebook page and other media. And in terms of community outreach, Jillian and I met with a group from the Seniors Keeping Young to update them on the project, and there are other meetings tentatively planned coming up. And we continue to encourage community groups to connect with us if they would like to hear more about the project. That is it for me. If there are any questions, happy to answer them. Or if Shelley, you have anything to add.
Thanks, Jacqueline. You did a fabulous job of outlining the activity, which is exciting stuff. I think I just want to highlight that one of the key focuses for our communications, be it in person, the tours, the billboards, all of that is really to start really honing in on the benefit to the community that the community center will provide. It's going to be such an important part of people's lives once it opens, and we just want to make sure that people have the opportunity to start feeling that now, and that for those that are able to or want to be a part of making it a reality, that's why we're doing all of this now. So thanks, Jacqueline. That was a great overview.
I have one question, Jackie. I wasn't really clear on why we're not applying for another grant with cultural spaces. Was that a recommendation or it's not an opportunity?
Yeah, when we had the meeting with the program manager, we explored that a little bit with her in terms of, there's a lot of effort that goes through those applications, and in terms of whether or not we would expect a positive response. And of course, there never ever are guarantees with these applications, but again, they're still grappling with those same issues that she had described to us, which was really making it difficult for them to find funding for us. So I think that in the least short term, that those issues are still going to be there. I don't know, Liam, do you want to add that to any of that in terms of what we heard?
Yeah, she made it pretty clear that it wouldn't really be a probably a good use of our time. Like she can never come right out and say yay or nay, but it was pretty clear that it was not going to be a good use of our time, that we would still be up against the same constraints as to why we didn't get funding the first time. So in grant funding speak, it was the polite way of saying, don't bother.
And also,
do you have any recommendations of other grant streams, funding streams?
No, it's quite difficult at this stage in a project to be securing funds from senior levels of government for funding because it is so far along. Typically, once projects are commenced, they are harder to fund through those types of funding programs. We'll keep our eyes out and our ears to the ground, and so if anybody hears of anything, we definitely want to hear about and know about it. But generally, for projects that are funded this much and this far along, are pretty hard to get additional senior grant funding for.
And the other thing, in addition to the funding challenges, is also the priorities right now of the government are funding projects that are targeted for communities that have been traditionally underserved, marginalized, or have not been receiving funding. So Indigenous-based projects, certainly, and others in the communities, as I say, that have been underserved in the past. I had one question, Liam, in terms of, I know the council recently met with Patrick Wheeler, and did he talk about any funding programs coming up in the near future? Or
we talked about various different funding streams that are being renegotiated, bilateral agreements and trilateral agreements with the province and the Union of BC municipalities. But they likely won't be reestablished in a time frame that fits with this project, because those negotiations take quite a bit of time. And so those are basically the renegotiation of what's currently called the Investing in Canada program, and the formerly gas tax, which is the
Community Building Fund.
Community Building Fund. Thank you, Councillor Morris. But otherwise, we talked about other funding streams for other infrastructure that might be available.
Thank you. I believe that's it for the fundraising update.
Okay, so now we're on to, excuse me, business arising from the minutes. So the joint management terms of reference. Jillian?
Thank you, Councillor Morris. I'm going to just swap the order of the bullets there, just because I feel that there may well be some robust discussion about the terms of reference. So I just wanted to just sort of look at the timeline a little bit on this before, because that'll be a bit easier, I think, or shorter anyway. Just looking at the need that there will be a need to go to council for approval at two different points on this. So the first will be approving our recommended terms of reference. Then following that, we'll have to go back to council again in terms of approving the membership of the committee itself. So if we're able to get our recommendation to the June 12th council meeting, which means that, we would need to get it this week finalized to get on that agenda for Monday, then that would give us time within the next 2 weeks to put it out to community, put the call out to community for members who are interested in, or community members interested in being part of this, because we actually are finding a number of people stepping up and saying, hey, I think I might want to be on that committee. So, which is interesting. So we need to give time for community to respond and then make some decisions around the appointments for the membership, and then hopefully take that back to council on July 10th in order for this committee to be commissioned and start working. So, so it's tight, it's quite tight, but I think we're all feeling a little hesitant to push it much further because there's a lot to be done. So,
And just to add to that timeline, if we miss the July 10th deadline for committee members, the next one is the 2 weeks from that, the end of July, and then council doesn't traditionally meet in August. So there is sort of definitely timeline issues. Okay.
So, you have in your agenda the revised terms of reference, and to review, I guess, the subcommittee, after our last steering committee meeting, the subcommittee met again on April 28th.
Can you remind us who was on the subcommittee, Jillian?
Yeah, that was Liam, Councillor Getty, Rob Glore, Jamie Sheffer, and myself. I didn't miss anybody, right? Okay.
No.
So we met again following the steering committee meeting. We met on April 28th to revise the terms of reference. I thought I was generating and sending back out to everyone what the committee had decided upon. Obviously, of course, open for discussion here today. So I think rather than going through it all, we did remove the components of the memorandum of understanding with the Hearth and built that into a statement that's attempting to fundamentally outline the importance of that original MOU and the clear intention to continue the work in keeping with that vision and principles in that MOU that really speaks to the importance of the relationship between BIM and the Hearth in this project and the management of it. So that was one of the big discussions. There are some other components that were minor in terms of changing the number of years of appointments and some other smaller components. And I think one of the elements that we're going to be discussing is about the working groups. So does anybody want to add anything in terms of our subcommittee meeting that led to this before we go in discussion?
So does anybody have any questions?
Is this where I can talk about the working groups?
Yeah.
Okay, so in section 3 under membership at the very bottom, we talk about subcommittees. And the one of the things that I thought about after we had our discussion at this meeting was, Liam, you had mentioned that there was a working group from the Hearth, the Performing Arts Committee, that had provided some content that was quite interesting and helpful. And that's a group that is outside, that would be outside this joint management committee. It is volunteers from the board of the Hearth and a couple of outsiders, and getting lots of information and help from some people like Kim Saloti. And it seems to me that there's one of the foundation principles that we talked about in the MOU was that both organizations are responding to and supportive of using volunteers. And I think that other than committees and subcommittees, which are described and are legislatively contained, then there is still room for volunteers to be working in support, not making decisions, not necessarily involving a quorum of this committee, and not a situation where an outlier group could take over and make some demands or make some decisions that wouldn't be acceptable to the committee or to the council. But just people that want to research and think about some other projects. Sorry. So with that in mind, I think that it's important for this organization to support and encourage and find ways of specifically saying that volunteer efforts would be part of the work of this joint management committee, and at least that this is where people would bring their ideas. One of the problems that we had with the Performing Arts Committee was with the Hearth, when I was a member of the board, was that we had asked a lot of questions and everybody was very, very busy and nobody knew who we were and what our intentions were. And it was for at least some period of time before we got over the original hump of introducing ourselves and I suppose convincing people that we weren't just going to be taking up time and space, which was so precious, that once we got past the introductions, then it was mutually of benefit. But I think that there's that reluctance and hesitation in terms of people that are very busy with the project to involve themselves with volunteers. It's just that many more people and that much more work and that many more ideas that we have to think of. But I think that one of the things that is of maximum benefit for this organization, this facility, in terms of working with the Hearth, and all of it relies entirely on volunteers. They've got, I think I calculated 1.5 staff positions, maybe a bit more, 1 3/4. But if the Hearth is going to play a major role, they're going to have to rely heavily on volunteers. And I think that we have to provide them with a way into making submissions to this committee. And I think we can outline that in the terms of reference, specifically with this concept of working groups. And it's not in the legislation. There's no restrictions on it, the same as there would be for a standing committee or something that is typical of open government kinds of committees, and they would not be making decisions. So I can't think of any rec examples because that's not my background, and that might be something that the Rec Commission, if it ever rematerializes, that they would be recommending. But certainly with respect to arts and culture, I know that there's people that are interested in a film club, and there's people that are interested in local music events, the Musicians on Bowen. There's any number of other people that want to do bringing in acts from the Children's Festival, or possibly the Fringe Festival in terms of theater productions, and to have subgroups, working groups that can make recommendations to the committee in terms of possible ways of programming and funding, that would be of benefit. So that was why I was trying to include something along that line. And basically, I thought we had agreed to it earlier, but it has vanished. So
if I may, I don't think anything vanished. I think that my recollection of the meeting, and it's unfortunate that Rob's not here, but that what's before us today is what we agreed on at that meeting. And I think what Steph has jotted down looks quite good. I've got no objections with groups bringing forward ideas in informal ways and organizing themselves and coming forward to any committee. I mean, and respectfully, I think, the municipality engages with a tremendous amount of volunteers. You know, we have more committees than any municipality that I'm aware of. And so I don't think there's any shyness of engaging with volunteers from the municipality's perspective. I think there's the reality of needing to advance things in a timely way that maybe sometimes can get in the way of things. But I think what Steph has jotted down there.
Is that the
seems-
yellow highlighted
Yeah,
bit, Leah?
yeah, that's a new addition that Steph seems to have captured just listening to Councillor Getty's comments. I think that seems to,
Okay.
you know, maybe that captures what Councillor Getty's suggesting.
So has anybody else got any comments? Because I had one suggested change to that. But just because it says are inclusive means that implies to me that all subcommittees must include people that are individuals and representatives from the community. And in some
right.
cases it may not, but I certainly would be very happy with the words may include or should include where appropriate individuals and representatives from the community.
Right.
Yeah, so just a small typo. Oh, Steph, is that from the committee terms of reference template then?
Yes.
Exact same wording?
Mhm.
Okay, so what about may be inclusive rather than,
May include, I think is good.
yeah. Yeah,
If it's if it is a subcommittee or a standing committee or a select committee, that's
no, Judy,
defined-
subcommittees are not standing committees or select committees. Those are the committee itself under the community charter. So a subcommittee, we've got them in all sorts of the other committees. People are tasked with a little task to go off and do something and come back. So subcommittees and working groups to me are synonymous.
All right, the language has been referred to in some aspects of the, I don't know if it's the charter or the Local Government Act, but that's the distinction, so that it doesn't have to be formalized. There doesn't have to be minutes, notices.
Well, and that's how we worked, Councillor Getty, as our subcommittee to develop these terms of reference, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, I think we work
And-
effectively with these subcommittees or working groups or whatever we might call them to get things hammered out and then bring them back to the formal committee for consideration. And the example of the Hearth Performing Arts Group, it's not the only non-municipal group that is organized in a way that brings forward ideas. And so I think that is also a good opportunity for input into how municipal business is conducted in an informal way, but it then comes through the formal committee channel.
Okay, so Steph's put up a change to 3.7 up there, and is that, I'm trying to read your chat things at the same time. Is that synonymous with what's in our terms of reference
Yes.
template?
Yeah, we use subcommittee and working group synonymously.
Yeah,
Just semantics. It's not referred to in the community charter at all.
yeah. So they're not bound by all the things. So,
Task force, they're all the same.
yeah. So Judy, are you okay with?
All right, so one of the issues the last time was, Allison, that you brought up was that you didn't want it to be, and what I included in my email was to talk about that it wouldn't be allowed to have a quorum of the members of the JMC. Do we need that? We wanted a definition of a working group and who would be, what the. constraints would be.
I think Steph solved my concern, is with 3.7.3. If you've got a working group or a subcommittee and you depending on what it is, it could be 3 members of the committee, just like the working group we set up for the terms of reference. That was all committee members. As long as they're not running rogue and just doing their own thing. So that's where this line about report to the committee on their progress. And I think that's where my wordsmithing is getting in. I think the colon has to be after and the word has to be, may has to be in front of be. So maybe time bound, may be designed to support, shall report to the committee on their progress at every meeting, and may be required to coordinate its own administrative functions.
No, has to.
Okay, well then that's fine. But the way you've got it written right now, it's may be required because the may is up in the first
Yeah.
line. Okay, shall report, not may report. 3.73, may should be shall. So it's a requirement that, you know, so they're not just running off and doing their own thing. That's not something the committee's interested in having them do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Take out the may in the top line in 3.7, Steph.
Right.
Okay, I think that accomplishes it.
Okay, good. Any, I've got one other question. The 3.2.3. Has anybody else got any other questions? Or we're appointments will take place annually, but up in the top one in 3.2, it's 3-year terms.
Yeah, we do appointments in November. All the
Yeah.
committees, it's in November. So that
Okay,
we
so
can
you've
have
got
everybody
appointments,
settled
yeah.
before Christmas, and then the chairs and vice chairs are elected in January.
Okay, but I guess the conflict is I'm happy to change it to your November, but I'm also concerned about the fact that it says committee members shall be 3-year terms. And then down below you're talking about appointments will take place annually. So I would rather say appointments will take place in whatever you've got in your template. Why do we need the word annually?
Sorry, okay.
Or maybe just appointments will take place as needed.
In the fall was too close to an election.
Well, yeah,
That's
so
the-
maybe
that's
we
the
just go
way
with as needed or something, or as, because if somebody resigns, you've got to reappoint them, and Judy has raised the issue about November is kind of close to an election, which is.
That's
yeah.
raising an issue that's addressing the entire system.
Exactly.
So I
So
don't think that's appropriate for this conversation.
can we just say appointments will take place as appropriate or as needed? And rather than putting a time frame, a physical date in there? Because we've got our 3-year terms and that would deal with resignations and everything else. And that's not sort of running afoul of your other set of bylaws. Because we're going to be appointing them now right away. Okay. Is everybody okay with that one? And then I guess my other question was, do we need to say any other council member may attend meetings of the committee?
What number is that?
That's under 3.1. I'm just curious about any other council member may attend meetings of the committee as a non-voting member in a resource capacity.
I don't know if that needs to be expressed. It's sort of,
Well, it's as a non-voting member, or
Any council member can attend any committee at any time
yes.
as an observer.
as an observer, open or closed.
So why don't we just say any other council member may attend meetings of the committee as an observer?
What bullet point is that?
It's the very last one in 3.1.
Oh, 3.1, sorry, okay. So do we have that in the template then? Like,
No, I think
Was
it's
it
just
just-
always been understood.
It's not in the other.
so I don't know. If that's our practice and that's the rule, as Liam just stated it, why are we saying it?
I don't think
Good
it needs
question.
to be stated.
Like
So
That's like something like that would go in the committee handbook, or which we can update if needed.
or council orientation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's in
I
most
mean,
standards and practices
and these
manual.
and the committee meetings are open to the public. Any member of the public can attend too.
Yeah. What about the closed meetings?
Not the closed meetings, no.
What about council
Councils.
attending a closed? meeting?
Council can attend
Okay.
a closed meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
There's still no specific reference to the Recreation Commission. Is that an oversight, or is that something we just want to leave in the air?
Oh, that's the one member
We
recommended by
talk-
BIM.
We talked about that at our subcommittee meeting, that we weren't going to specify that here.
Okay.
But that we would.
Hopefully in
we would-
practice.
We would be recommending that they.
I think also we can update this. We amend terms of reference not all the time, but I don't know, once a year. One committee will amend. So as practice and experience takes shape, we can amend.
No. Okay.
But I thought what the Mayor Leonard was concerned about was that there's overlap jurisdiction that needs to be clarified, and that created a situation where we should, if we're not going to specify it, rather than it being understood that there should be mention of it in the membership of this committee.
Are you saying there should be mention that they will appoint a member?
I think that's what he was referring to. Because there was so much overlap, there was some distinction between the commission and this specific facility, and the commission being broader, but that they definitely should be involved in this. It is not clear. And the two members of the community at large were, my understanding, that was going to be outside groups, such as Seniors Keeping Young, or
Well, it could just be a general committee member or community member.
It
It wouldn't
doesn't have to be a representative of a group. It could be anyone.
yes, but
Yeah.
it was open to the other community groups as opposed to the municipal commissions.
Well, I guess we've got a recreation master plan and we've got a cultural master plan, and this facility is going to play a large part in delivering on that. And right now, I think Jillian works with some of the other community groups in order to help them find space, or to use, the gym time that's allotted to us through the joint use agreement with the school. So
So one of my concerns here is that the municipality is the sole owner of the facility and is solely responsible for the operations of the facility and the liability associated with it. And if this joint management committee is tasked with the responsibility of providing oversight for the management of the facility, I think the membership of that committee needs to be represented by a majority of BIM appointees. And right now, if we were to, with the current membership of 7, we would have a member of council and BIM and a BIM staff member, and then one recommendation from BIM. And so I think I guess I just get a little bit worried that.
well, they're advisory, Liam. They can't make decisions. They've got to go to council.
I think there'll be some that I think they can. Well, yes, they are. That's a good point. Yes, but the committee.
Yeah.
We'll have good. Well, I hope that the committee will have a very strong influence and ability to move things along.
Yeah.
And so I guess I just get a little bit worried that BIM's representation may be under
Underrepresented.
Underrepresentative of BIM's actual responsibility and, you know,
I don't know that that's the case. It's the BIM council that appoints all of the members, in particular the two community members. And there's, you know, if the member of council is considered a BIM person, I mean, you've got, let's say the member of council is independent, and then you've got the staff and a person recommended by BIM in the next two bullet points, the hearth and a person recommended by the hearth board in the next two, and then two. So it was the two members of the public or the community at large ultimately are appointed by council. So it seems to me that we carefully balanced all of the numbers in terms of, and that was the discussion we had in terms of whether the facility manager should be a voting member, and whether or not that would upset the balance. While I hear your concerns, I think that ultimately anything that's decided by this committee has to be approved by council and recommended by staff. So I think there's enough checks and balances that, you know, depending on how well they can get through whatever difficult decisions and recommendations, I think we spent a lot of time on trying to figure this out. And I think this was a reasonably good balance.
Liam,
I'm just coming back to your question, Councillor Getty, about then the commission being a permanent member or a specified designated member, however we would word that. So then it's okay. So is
Well, Liam, I guess
So-
it's sort of like the member recommended by the hearth board. We're probably assuming that they would recommend a member of the board.
That the member recommended by BIM would be the
Would
member-
be a recommend, you know, so I guess my assumption or recommendation would be that the member recommended by BIM is somebody from the rec commission, preferably the chair or vice chair.
right. I think Councillor Getty though was trying to introduce the idea, let's be explicit that
Okay, okay.
that the commission is here. Is that right, Councillor Getty?
Well, I was raising it. I'm not pushing it. It makes no difference to me. But I thought that was what Andrew was trying to say in terms of the problem with the overlapping jurisdiction and terms of reference of the commission and a lot of what's in the terms of reference of this group. And that if we're trying to delineate and clarify what's separating them, that there's still a lot of the terms of reference for the commission still are very much interested in this committee or this facility. So whether or not they could or should be specifically recommended, it seems to me fits with their terms of reference. I don't care one way or the other, but I think that was possibly the point that he was trying to raise.
Can we leave it for now and we can have that discussion at council about and when we're appointing the members, because I would be pushing that we appoint one of the people from the commission.
I think just one thing, maybe while we're have time to think about this, is imagine a meeting and making a decision with this group of 7. And, you know, Liam, I hear what you're saying about there's only 3 members from BIM, and basically there's 4 members from the community that will be part of these decisions. We want to have a good discussion, a wholesome discussion whenever things come up with this group of 7. So I'm just asking, you know, think about this until we make this decision of what that looks like and what's the best way to make a decision.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Well, as Steph says, we can amend these terms of reference. And at this point, I think it's going to be very critical from council's perspective that council think through who the 2 members from the community at large should really be from the community at large. So more not somebody that's wedded to any particular user group, but somebody that we know can look at things from a broad perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the more that I think about it as we discuss it, the more I think it'll be okay. And, we can always amend as needed. And I think that the facility is for the community. And so having as much community representation is a good thing. And if it becomes this issue where, the municipality's concerns are being voted against by the majority of the other members consistently, then that might be something then we need to take a look at a future date. But
This committee is only making recommendations anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, I know, but
Yeah.
it can become problematic if the committee is consistently bringing forward recommendations that are counter to the municipality's
Strat plan or anything else.
Yeah. So and I think the more I think about it, the more it's like, okay, well, the whole intention is that this facility is for the community. It needs good community representation in the oversight. And
Okay.
so I think we should, as a community, should be able to work through it.
Okay.
And
So
if not, we can amend as needed.
okay, so Steph's made two little yellow things. One is the third bullet under membership, preferably a representative of the Recreation Community Service Commission. Are we leaving that in or not?
And this is going to the council for discussion? I think so.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm okay with that.
Okay, so Steph, take the question mark out of there and then we'll leave that.
Jillian has something.
Okay, Jillian?
My only hesitation with that, because I agree with it conceptually, I'm hesitant to put anything in that might slow down the process, because we know that there's some work to be done with that commission in terms of recommissioning the commission and really looking at those terms of reference. So if this causes us not to be able to make the appointments, I'm a little concerned about that.
Okay, I think
But it's
Liam
just a
and I have
preference.
heard, and Judy, and we can, make the comments at the council meeting when we're talking about this if somebody raises it. How's that? But I think conceptually we're all agreeing that it should be somebody from the commission, but we're not going to put that in writing just so we don't slow the process down.
Take it out.
Leave it.
Leave
Leave
okay.
it in.
All right, we better have a little vote then. Who is against putting in preferably a representative of the Records Community Services in this draft terms of reference at this time?
Okay, so it stays.
Okay, it stays. Now Steph's made a small change here under 3.2.3. She's added in alignment with the BIM committees program, which that's just settling the timing, which is normally done in November. So
yeah,
we'll leave that. Okay. Anything else and then down to the little changes we've made in 3.7. So everybody's okay with that? So can I have a motion?
There's a couple of minor typos and things.
Yeah.
But those are minor. So
Yeah, I've got a couple of those too.
we don't need to discuss them here.
No, well, there's one, I guess, in 3.2.2. Maybe we better, it's just
There's no
it's a
more.
clarification. The change when in the second line of 3.2, it says when they may reapply, after which they may reapply. So they got to wait a year. So saying, yeah, okay. Yeah, that's the rest of them are just simple little typos. Okay, so the motion that Steph has in the agenda is, and which the slight amendment, that the Community Center Select Steering Committee recommend that council adopt the Bowen Island Community Center Joint Management Committee terms of references as amended at their May 31st meeting.
I'll move.
I'll move that. It's Judy. Okay, I'll second. All in favor? I can't see everybody, Steph.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, anybody opposed? Good show. All right. We're on to 6.1, new business, Liam.
So
Sorry,
I just,
Um, sorry, can I just ask if, so I think it's one of the council representatives on the committee who brings that forth to council, if I'm right, so.
We've made a recommendation to council.
Yeah.
Steph will have it in the minutes. It'll get on the June 12th minutes as a follow-up through that, through the setting of the agenda.
You mean that could go into consent agenda? Or you?
No. Well, I
Whose-
don't know.
Whose name is gonna be on it? For
Exactly, I'm just wondering who would like to be bringing it to council.
Well, normally the committee minutes are put in on the, we can put it,
I will if it's an issue.
I don't think it's an issue. We're just going to, it'll
issue,
come
just-
forward as the agenda is set up, and it'll come, I guess, are you suggesting that it go in the consent agenda or that it go in the discussion agenda?
I don't think
That's-
Jillian wants to be there to explain it all.
Yeah.
Oh,
She needs to
that's
have a name
fine.
on it.
It's not that I don't want to be there, I'm just
Yeah.
just ensuring I understand process here, so.
Yeah, okay, we can
Yeah.
talk about that one offline. Okay, we don't need anything else in the motion at this point. Okay, Liam, you're back on.
okay, thank you, Councillor Morris. I was just going to highlight that we are making progress on job description and details about the facility manager's position. We really want this position to be hired and in place several months in advance of the opening of the facility, and ideally not long after the joint management committee is up and running, because this facility manager is going to be responsible for helping craft a lot of the policy and protocols and actual operations of the facility. And so, and we are sort of quietly putting the word out there. We're actually hearing from some people of interest in the position, which is great, because I think that'll give us an opportunity to be able to select a really good candidate for the position. Key areas of responsibility, just so folks are clear on what the position is that, you know, they'll be required to ensure that the facility and equipment are maintained and that the facility is operating in good working order, and that the facility is, you know, adhering to any of the provincial and local regulations around things like WorkSafe and things like that. They will also provide recommendations for facility enhancements, and so a lot of the maintenance side of the facility too. They will also serve as a liaison to the Joint Management Committee, as we just recently discussed, and they will work closely with the membership of that committee, including the Hearth and other organizations in the community that are interested in use of the facility. And so this position will be a focal point for all users of the facility. So they'll be engaged with both community groups that are using the facility and also individuals. And so anybody that's looking to rent the facility will effectively go through this facility manager. And ideally we'll have a lot of protocols in place and templates in terms of, like, you know, rental agreements and all of that kind of stuff to make their life a little bit easier. And then in an ideal world, what we think is that the facility manager and the facility itself will get into a well-performing stage after probably a couple of years of, like, getting through the aches and pains of understanding how the new facility works and operates. And that if this facility is operating in a smooth manner like we anticipate it to be, then this person will also be able to lend support to other municipal facilities, including the library and the annex and other facilities that the municipality owns and operates. Jillian, is there anything that you wanted to add about that position that I might have missed?
No, I think that's great. You covered all the points that we've been working out over the last couple of months, and yeah.
So I might add, if you know of anybody that might be keen for this type of position, to, I'm keen to talk to folks in advance of posting the position, but it will be a competitive posting, so it will go out through the normal channels.
Jamie had a question.
So will we have a chance to have a look at this posting before it goes public? I think that there were some committee members on our board that really wanted to have a good look at that.
Can I answer that one, Liam?
Yeah,
Liam
go
is
ahead.
our CAO, and Liam is all staff reports to Liam. And therefore, I think, they're responsible for running the facility.
Yeah, I understand that, but I think that the Hearth and some of our Performing Arts Committee have a great deal of experience in performing arts and may have some recommendations or suggestions for the job description. And I think that we talked about this previously.
Well, maybe we leave it that Liam's free to consult with anybody he wants to in developing it. I think you've already looked for some. Judy, you had, I guess my perspective on that, excuse me for this voice, would be that you're going to have to consult with all the other potential user groups too. So Jamie, you had, sorry, Judy, you had a question. You're muted.
I thought there was some discussion about recognizing the need that if the performance space is going to be optimized, that we needed to have not just a combination, or we needed to try and see whether or not we could have a combination of both operations and promotion, so that there potentially could be plenty of work in terms of beating the bushes, working with the community groups, but other ways too of figuring out how to maximize the performance space, which is a different skill set than just operations.
Right, and I definitely agree that this position is going to be integral to maximizing the performance in terms of not just revenue, but actual use and benefit to the community. But I want to be clear that I would not, if I'm doing a performance review of the facility manager at the end of a given year, that I'm not going to be expecting them to be responsible for entirely for the revenue performance of the facility. That's going to have to be.
That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay. I just want to be clear about that. Yeah.
No, I don't think you can tie the position in terms of whether or not it's successful. That I think that's unfair for anybody. We try to bring in, I don't know, ballet and orchestra, and there's no audience. But it's like balancing some of the avant-garde stuff with some of the more popular stuff. But I think that being able to evaluate somebody in their capacity of at least outreach and I'm not sure of the words, but I think it would be helpful in terms of having people that are, and maybe that's through the Performing Arts Committee at the Hearth, but having some people that are more experienced with booking groups and having contacts with the entertainment community. And it's not just, performing arts, it's all of the different ways that we can think of to maximize the use of that space. That's our little revenue engine.
Right, but let's not forget that. So we know wholeheartedly that that's going to be a big part of the work, but it is also a very large facility, and we can't then expect that municipal staff, as they currently exist, to take on responsibility for management of the facility. So that there's going to be a real balance between actual facility management and promotion and coordination. And it's going to be a big learning curve, right? Whoever takes this on is going to have a really diverse skill set and really strong communication skills and outreach, and ideally a strong network to be able to make this work.
I see it as possibly somebody that's supervising existing staff, if that's even remotely possible with operations, that we have a lot of staff, they're overworked and their work plans are packed, and we may have to shift things around in terms of priorities. But I think that what we don't have anywhere in any of our community groups and anything on the municipality is somebody that is experienced in terms of getting a performance space filled up with all sorts of different activities.
And that's why we're going to rely heavily on like the Hearth and the recreation folks to work together to do that. I mean, the intention, as I understand it all along, is that the Hearth would be a really integral partner in the scheduling of the space. And then we'll also be, this person will be the pivot point, the center of those discussions with the other community organizations like Toady and the others too.
Well, and then before this the advertising for this position goes out, I think we have to have much deeper conversation about that, because I think with 1.5 personnel with the Hearth,
So,
Okay,
Judy,
Councillor Getty,
with however many people there are existing on the staff with operations, that it's not a balance at this point.
maybe we should take this offline to the closed meeting. We're getting a little bit into personnel issues, I think.
yeah, I would
We're
like,
also running out of time.
All right.
I would
Okay.
like to say that I can't, it'll be incredibly difficult to try to create a job description by committee. I'm not interested in doing that.
Okay. Can we take this into the closed meeting? And we're ahead of time, I'm thinking, or behind time. I'm thinking of Shelley's time and Jackie's time. So I would like to move that the Community Center Select Steering Committee move to a closed meeting pursuant to section 91K of the Community Charter, which a part of the council meeting may be closed to the public if the subject matter being continued relates to negotiations and related discussions respecting the proposed provision of a municipal service that are at a preliminary stages, and that in the view of the council could reasonably be expected to harm the interests of the municipality if they were held in public. Somebody second that?
Second.
Thank you. All in